everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider, and I'm here at South by Southwest at the Collider Media Studio at the Cinema Center. I'm here to talk with the fine folks behind The Accountant 2, which is a film I cannot wait to see. This is one of those films that after it came out, I wanted a sequel, and it just took forever. So let me start with what took so long.
What took so long? There was just obstacles in the way, and then we had COVID, and then a strike, and Ben started a studio, so we had to figure all that out. So once we kind of worked out a plan with Ben and Artist Equity, we found a great partner with Amazon, and we were off to the races.
So a lot of people will remember that the first one, I believe, was Warner Brothers, and now you're at a different studio. How did it actually, like, sort of, you know what I mean? How does that work in terms of, like, IP leaving the studio like that?
You could ask Warner Brothers that question. I'm not, honestly, I don't really know. I think part of it had to do with there was a lot of regime changes going on, because we had written the script at Warner Brothers. And that was in 2018 when we finally got a deal to write a script. And so I think there was some regime issues going on over there. And then I think there may have been, like, if they wanted to two studios with Artist Equity, because Ben has a deal with his financiers. So I don't know if Warner Brothers wanted to do it, but I'm speculating. This is
yeah, I'm not, like, a lot of people who read Collider, like, they want to know the nerdy stuff of, like, what exactly, you know, went on behind the scenes. I'm curious also. Listen, fact is, I'm just happy it got made and that it premieres tonight. There's a trailer out there, but I do like asking, like, what do you want to tell people about the sequel?
Are you asking me?
For all of you.
Well, I think that I had a couple of rules going in. I built the plot around a very specific subject matter, which was human trafficking. But then the challenge was, how do I deal with such heavy topic and make an entertaining and fun movie? It was important to bring the two brothers together. It's very much, in essence, a buddy movie with the two brothers. And Chris still searching for love and connection. And very much was very intentionally bending the genre. So I think there'll be a lot of surprises that we made a lot of left turns.
And I also say that I feel like Gavin always makes a movie that has heart. You know, it's an action film, but it's not just an action film. Like, people are going to laugh. People are going to cry. They're definitely going to laugh. And even reading the script that was written by Bill, it was very apparent that this is so inclusive for everybody. I mean, it's an R-rated film, right?
It is.
It's an R-rated film, so maybe not for the kiddies just yet. But for mom, dad, cousins, friends, it's there's something in it for everybody.
I kind of feel like the less you know going in, the better, because it's like the first one. There's a bit of this puzzle and this mystery, right? I mean, this time around, you're invested in these characters, and we're seeing them so many years later. But there's still going to be that same, you know, the audience following along as these sort of clues unfold and unravel. So I feel like going in, you've got the trailer as a little bit of a tease, but just go in with an open mind and just let the movie whisk you away.
So I am curious, how much time has passed from the first film to the sequel?
8 years.
So, so you're using real time.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big fan, but something I actually wanted to bring up and I forgot until now is, what do I have to do to get you to make more movies? Because I'm a fan of your work.
Gavin, why are you sleeping on that?
If I lose my wife and children, then I'll be able to make more movies. But I spend a lot of time with my family, and that's the most important thing to me. So I actually took off when COVID happened. I took 4 years off and just want to be a dad and a husband.
Well, honestly, that's awesome for your family and your kids. Not awesome for me, but I do respect.
I appreciate that.
Putting family
I'm going to
first.
make a couple in a row. As I told my wife, I'm going to go on a little bit of a run. I got a few things stacked up, so I'm going to do a few in a row after this.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the news that I want. You know what I mean? So one of the things about the first film is that your character was basically against, I'll call him the accountant, you know, like not understanding the relationship of J.K. Simmons' character. But how has she sort of accepted his, like, how does she feel about him in the sequel? You know what I mean? Like, is she willing to put up with him? Like, how does this work?
I almost feel like you're going to see all of that play out in the film. And in some ways, I think the audience in real time is going to sort of be along with Mary Beth as she finally comes face to face with the accountant. First of all, because really in the first movie, I never got to work with Ben. I just got to stare lovingly at his photo a few times. And I only met him a couple times when we were doing the first one. So I remember when I finally got to read the script, I didn't actually know what the story of the sequel was going to be. So I remember reading the script and being like, oh, okay, like we're going to be like working together. Like I'm very excited at this prospect. And so it's sort of this like two meeting of the minds, but it's a very sort of reluctant partnership, certainly on her part. And I think it's just a matter of different methodologies to try and achieve the same goal. Represented in really like the three of the characters, I would say.
We throw a bomb between the two of them when Drax shows up. And then it becomes there's a lot of conflict.
Yeah, the humor comes from the conflict.
Well, Mary, you're sort of the straight man.
I am.
You're the straight man in the movie,
which is probably true in my life.
Mary Beth and two crazies is the subtext of our movie.
I don't actually know much about your character. What can you tell people?
What can I tell people? Well, she's a dangerous lady. She's incredibly intelligent. I don't know how much I can.
She's a mystery of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. She's sort of Anaïs is sort of the key in the ignition of the plot, and then there's a lot of landmines.
Yeah,
around her character. If we talk too much about it,
I will say though that I do feel in this that my character is a little mix in a sense of both Christian and Drax. I feel like there's a little bits of both those characters in mine, but I can't say too much.
I understand. It's the dance we all play.
There's some twists in there and things like that we don't want to give away.
I completely get it. One of the things about the first film that resonated, like, the characters are really good in the first film, but the action set pieces are pretty fucking awesome. So talk a little bit about what you wanted to accomplish in the sequel. How did you work with your stunt coordinator or second unit, like, to pull off what you wanted to do?
Well, there was sort of two tracks running in this one because we had the action sequences with Anaïs and Mary Beth, and
awesome.
That was one track we were on, and then we had the action sequences with Chris and Drax, and sort of the emotionality of the story of these two guys slowly coming together, and then once we get into the third act where they actually have to go execute a mission, they're now sort of glued together. So in putting a microscope on the action, there's the choreography, but I'm much more interested in the emotional line between the two characters inside of that, and that's really what I was tracking. So it was new we had to do in regard to where A to B to C and how to execute all that. But what's happening between the two brothers is really what was most important to me.
Well, look, I mean, and I've said this 1,000 times, but if you don't care about the characters, then the action's meaningless, So, but one of the things that Jon and Ben together have really great chemistry, and they're both also really good at killing people. So I'm just being honest. So what, can you sort of talk about, in the working on the screenplay, were you thinking about some of the action set pieces? Were you thinking about innovative ways, to off people? I don't know what the right terminology is.
That's a fair way of saying it. It's done in stages. So with Bill and I, we were getting it on the page to to meet certain intentions, and then I brought in my fight guys, Fernando Chen, who I've worked with on many films now. He's a very close friend, and what I love about Fernando is he's always coming from character. And then we started to take what Bill and I had put down in the script, and then started to just keep to lifting it and breathing new life into it, and that's kind of how we did it.
So you see the shooting schedule in front of you. What day do you have circled in terms of I cannot wait to film this, and what day is circled in terms of how the F are we going to film this?
Our fight
the fight,
scene?
yeah, which I think was both. I mean, I think what you hope for and occasionally you actually get is something to be working toward. And thankfully, this is both towards the end of the story, but also towards the end of our shooting schedule. So we kind of had like the maximum time to prepare. And because you want to sort of do it justice, you're like, I want to use every moment I have to make sure that this is going to live up to what it is on the page. And I feel like a great action sequence, it transcends the dialogue, right? You're able to kind of use the movement and the action and everything to be this like extension of what these characters want and what they're expressing. And also like, how often do you get like awesome girl fights? And not just like silly ones, but ones that feel like, you know, you're feeling every like punch and kick, and
or not one like where like a human being that looks like they weigh 50 pounds is like throwing 300-pound men. Like, like how is that physically possible? But I felt like the way that Gavin helped construct this fight, it was very grounded and real. And man, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
Can I ask how long did it take to film your sequence?
2 days? It's about 2 days.
About two full long
days.
And also, I have to emphasize, I mean, I very intentionally built a schedule to do the action at the end, so these guys and Ben and Jon had the time to keep working on the choreography and the training, and so these guys, starting from early prep, were working on the fight scene, and not only the choreography of it, but working out, training. You know, making sure you can throw punches correctly and kicks and, you know, martial arts, and just doing all that training to get to those 2 days.
And I had fight experience before, but shout out to my stunt lady, Bronte Coluccio, because she also picked up where I left off in the best way, and she's an athletic freak, and someone needs to hire her again because she's really talented.
I know I'm running out of time, so I just want to ask, I'm getting the, you know what I mean? So I definitely have to ask, is with this being the sequel, how much are you guys thinking about, is this a franchise? Can we continue? How much is it sort of like, let's see how this, you know what I mean? Like, what are you thinking?
Well, there's always been 3. Bill and I, since I started editing the first one, because I didn't know Bill, we met on the first movie. I got the script from Lynette Howell. And then from the script that I initially got, I started working with Bill because I think any filmmaker is going to do it. You get a script, you respond to it. How does it affect you personally? But then you keep climbing inside of it it becomes your own aesthetic and sensibility. And Bill was a great partner in allowing me kind of start taking it in directions. Once we started working together and we became really good friends, I love Bill. He's just the greatest. We started talking about, okay, I said, we should be doing 3 of these. So what's the interstitial movie, which is 2, which is now exactly what we talked about. And we have 3. And we've been now kicking the tires on what that story is. So we'll be doing that next.
You said you were developing a few things and you've warned your wife. What can you tease about what you're developing? What can you reveal?
Well, I'm writing something that it's not set up anywhere. I just don't like to set things up. I just write it on my own. So I'm moving at my own pace. But the thing that's sitting right in front of me that I feel the most passionate about is a script that actually Bill is writing. It's an original story that I had that I have Bill writing for me. We just started to have this great relationship. So he's writing it, and it's called Running. I set it up at Apple. And it's about one of the things I'm doing now very intentionally is using my platform to make cinema that can explore subject matter that is important to me, social commentary, and shine a light on certain things. So we're writing a movie about a boy who's homeless. 17 years old, who's a once-in-a-generation runner. And that's what I would say about it.
Okay. I have to ask you an individual, if you don't mind. I am a fan of Rings of Power, and you got picked up for season 3. I sort of know it's going to get 5 seasons, but even though they're doing it season by season, what can you tease people about the upcoming season? Like, when do you start filming? Like, what can you say?
if someone has information for me, I would be asking the same thing. I can't tease much. I'm excited to get back to season 3. There's a time jump, so that I know that's been publicly said, that how it left off in season 2. Well, when we return in season 3, we're going to be sort of moving forward, and that's all I know. I don't know much else, but I am definitely excited to get to return to Middle Earth. It's obviously like this weird shift to go from like that to this, contemporary story back to that. But yeah, I'll be excited to go back and see what they're up to over there.
One of the things about that show is that it just each episode looks like a movie. There's so much incredible production design, costumes. It's all just incredible craftspeople that work on it. What is it actually like being in the middle of that? Like, what can you tell people and fans about making a show that takes that much care?
I think for me, what's always interesting is, there'll be this like giant scope to something like that, but at the end of the day, you're still responsible for being in service to the character and the story. And so there's like the intimacy of just looking across at your fellow actors and actresses and working with the director and working with the crew. That all feels familiar to me, whether it's a giant set piece or a windowless room. So, I think in the end, we're just trying to sort of tell the best version of that story. And thankfully, we have incredible artists and resources behind it, because it's a huge production and one that I'm very proud of being a part of. So,
will they continue to have pointy ears in the next season?
Well, my ears are normal,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, still got the pointy ears. All the characters you know and love still part of Middle Earth.
Still pointy.
Listen, I could keep talking to you guys, but I'm just going to say I really cannot wait to see The Accountant 2 world premiere tonight at South by, in theaters April 25th. And I really can't wait to see it. You guys have a fantastic festival.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Appreciate it very much.